This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to a Monday edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. John Heyman says the New York Yankees and Freddie Freeman, the Yanks are prepared to make a run at him. How quick a run? Where are they running to? We're going to talk about the leverage involved and whether or not that's realistic. Because again, like we've said, every week, the insiders just feel like dropping one crumb. And this week, God damn it, this is the crumb. We're going to be talking about Freddie Freeman. Using the Freeman knowledge, can we build a dream infield? I think we can. We're also talking about replacements for Zack Britton externally. Everybody's talking about the internal guys. We got a couple candidates who we think could be good fits for cheap from other franchises. And if you had $474,000, what would you spend it on? A ton of things or one Jasson Dominguez autograph rookie card? Probably not the second option, but somebody did it. We're going to be breaking that down too. Make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, probably Stitcher. Maybe some of you invented a podcast platform. I just don't know. You can find us every Monday and Thursday on those platforms, as well as live on YouTube at 2 o'clock Eastern time. We're also streaming on Twitter if that's where you can find us. Please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, wherever you drop 5-star reviews, and leave us a mailbag question in the comments there. Again, we addressed this last time. If you don't want to leave a 5-star review, if you are inclined to leave an under 5-star review, walk away. Write it on a piece of paper, file it in a cabinet, just write out what you were going to say. And these guys are pretty good. It's a good podcast. They leave out some of the topics I was hoping they'd address. It's more of a 4-star podcast to me. Valid opinion, just leave it in the drawer, or give us 5 stars and put that comment in. We'll read it, we'll digest the feedback, but just click the right amount of stars. Say this is a fake 5-star review, actually more of a 4-star show. Here's how I'd improve it, and we go, great, can't wait. Thomas Carinante, welcome to the podcast. Saturday of the lockout, February 5th, the government getting involved. The feds are circling, and that's the time when John Heyman decides to drop that the Yankees are going to make a genuine run at Freddie Freeman. Make it all make sense, because we're still nowhere close to the end of this thing, and whatever run they plan on making, they can't make it for at least another couple of weeks.
At least, I guess. Labor Secretary wants to get involved. Pretty cool stuff. As long as they're not on the owner's side, doesn't really matter to me. Anything to expedite this process. But I'll tell you that Freddie Freeman news propped up my weekend a little bit. I celebrated with some Bud Heavies. It was a good time. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself because it is an exciting development that the Yankees reportedly want to make a run at Freddie Freeman. We don't know if that's going to happen. We don't know if this is a smokescreen for something else. One of the first things that came to my mind was them expressing interest on this front to maybe make the A's be like, oh shit, we're not going to get a better trade package than what we could potentially get from the Yankees for Matt Olson. So maybe we talk our side down a little bit more to get in the middle, because I don't know what the Braves system looks like at this point, but I know that a lot of those guys have made it to MLB at this point. So I don't know who they'd be willing to trade or who would be closer to MLB that is of same value or of perceived value than what the Yankees have. The Yankees do have a lot of depth. Look, I know we got, for some reason, once again, catching shit for no reason, talking about how the Yankees' 13th ranked farm system, according to Baseball America, was closer to the top. Some people were saying, oh, this is not closer to the top. And as a matter of fact, it's mid-tier. You have to consider that the Yankees don't have high draft picks every year because they are who they are. You have to consider they got rid of 11 players over the last year via trades that they wouldn't have been able to, players that they wouldn't have been able to keep anyway. So you're talking about consistently picking in the back end of the first round and constantly trading top prospects to, better the roster or to just create space for other players. And if you're going to tell me we're ranked at 13th, and the system is regarded as deep, yes, we don't have top picks like all these other lower level franchises who are, stuck in losing season after losing season. But it's a good farm system, especially at the top end. The top 10 prospects of the Yankees, very good. So there is leverage there for them to create on the trade market. But man, I would just like Freddie Freeman as the first baseman. I don't really care what it takes. There are things to weigh here, though. You're looking at a 6-year, $180 million, $200 million contract. Based on what we've heard, I think we could safely say like 190 is probably the number that's going to get him. If he's coming to New York, he's probably going to want more because you're getting double taxed here, all that other good stuff. This is my selection for first base, but do they want another $30 million salary on the books from 2023 to 2025? That's what they're going to have to deal with, as opposed to what would be like a 2-year, $28 million deal for Matt Olson. Nonetheless, it's good to see the Yankees are willing to spend. Another potential problem here, the Dodgers are also reportedly interested in Freddie Freeman. So looking at a bidding war between two of the richest organizations in the sport doesn't take away from my excitement, but important for everybody to know the parameters here and what could potentially derail this, because interest is not a bona fide conclusion. It's a step in the right direction, if you will.
Well, if you're going to tell me you're going to make a run at him, that had better include the 6th year. Because if it doesn't, then you're not making a run at him.
Correct.
The thing that the Braves are lacking is the 6th year. It's not like they have no intention of bringing Freddie Freeman back, and they're just saying, like, go shop around because we hate you. Like, the Braves are offering 5 years, 135. So the Yankees aren't going to top that AAV. Almost 100% not going to do that. They can do is offer the 6th year that Atlanta's been unwilling to go to. It's insane to me that Atlanta won't entertain that 6th year, considering they have, a reigning world champion. They're trying to maintain a reigning world champion. You don't often look at your, iconic 2020 MVP in the face and go, no, thank you. Like I think 1 is enough. I think we're done with the World Series. But 2, Atlanta doesn't give out big deals. I understand that, but they have Ronald Acuna Jr. and Ozzie Albies locked up to long-term contracts I would call criminal. Those deals are crazy. They locked him into like Rays deals in like year 1 or year 2 of their time with a big league club. They have their, Acuna Jr. is their best player. Freeman is like the glue and a superstar and the face of the franchise. Acuna Jr. is their most talented player. They have him for pennies. Albies at second base, they have for absolutely nothing. So if there's one team that is either, gets rid of Freddie Freeman and is near championship level, could win the NL East level, is still lurking in that territory, Freeman puts them over the top. And if they're unwilling to go, again, they'll pay for his age 37 season, but not 38. That's the breaking point. Okay. That's when we tell everybody that, go talk to the Yankees, go talk to the Dodgers. That's ridiculous to me. Mm-hmm. But again, it's if the Yankees actually intend to make a run at Freeman and they're not just being used as leverage against Atlanta, because we have seen a swarm of stories in recent weeks that have basically amounted to, if Atlanta doesn't want to treat Freddie Freeman right, the Dodgers are there, the Yankees are there. So that doesn't exactly, the fact that there's been an onslaught of offseason stories doesn't exactly, inspire me and make me think this is, different. And this is, this is coming from Freeman's camp. This is coming from someone's camp who has an axe to grind and an agenda to push forward. So it's not just completely objective breadcrumbs, knowledge, etc. But the leverage piece and the other piece, if the Yankees are willing to go 6 years, they have an automatic advantage over the Braves, which should never be said. So if your run doesn't include 6 years, then your run isn't legitimate. But if you have it's not even private. The discussion is not private. I know exactly what the Yankees have to do to vault past the Braves in this discussion. And it's just be willing to spread the money around, which is what they've done in the past. They would rather give DJ LeMahieu 6 years and a lower average annual value than to give him 5 years and more money. So if you're willing to do that for LeMahieu, who's at a similar point in the aging curve, we love him, less good player than Freddie Freeman, future Hall of Famer, do your favorite thing. Spread the money out to an extra year. It's your favorite thing to do in long-term contract negotiations, and it could give you an immediate leg up here.
Yeah. And with that, you're talking about rebuilding the infield in a sense, if you're getting Freddie Freeman. Luke Voit, my opinion, writing's on the wall here if the Yankees are expressing this interest. Writing's even on the wall if they want to retain Anthony Rizzo. Luke Voit, he has 3 years of control left, arbitration years. Those are the money-making years for players who are A, looking to get raises, and B, raise their free agency value when the time comes. Luke Voit is not going to accept, at least in my opinion, it's mere speculation, he's not going to accept a backup role where he's hardly seeing the field because Freddie Freeman is an Iron Man in a sense, where he's getting infrequent pinch hit opportunities like we saw at the end of last year that just did not work well, or he's just not being put in the lineup for whatever reason, which we also saw down the stretch with Aaron Boone. So with Aaron Boone refusing to, create that flexibility when it was very much available. So I got broken brain again and started thinking, hey, the Yankees can spend a little bit. I'm not saying I'm not saying do what the Mets are doing. I'm not saying even do what the Dodgers are doing, but there is room to spend and you can go a little bit over. Remember, this team has not been over the luxury tax threshold, I think now for 2 years in a row, if I'm correct. So there's no repeat penalty here if they were to go over in 2022. And you have to remember that in 2023, there's a lot of money coming off the books. We can read through it right now. It's very quick. It's in the 70 million range. We got Chapman coming off the books. We got Britton coming off the books. That's 30 million right there. We have a Luis Severino team option. Depends if he performs well this year. If he doesn't, that's another 12 million coming off the books. We got Joey Gallo, 10 mil, Gary Sanchez, 8 mil, Chad Green, 4 mil. And then a combination of guys who might be traded. I'm kind of in that bucket. I'm putting Gio Urshela, Luke Voit, Miguel Andujar, and that makes up about $13-14 million. So you're looking at a handful of, and Tyone is almost $5 million too. So all this money, they're not going to be able to retain all those guys. They probably aren't going to retain a good bit of them for various reasons. But if this is the team that you're looking at and you're saying, okay, these guys are gone after last year, we want to trade these guys this offseason, Voit being one of them, why would you not use that salary relief to create a crazy infield? So what is my crazy infield? Freddie Freeman is the first baseman.
Welcome, Freddie.
These rumors. Why not give him 6 years, 180 mil, it's 30 million AAV. You're going to be paying Garrett Cole, Giancarlo Stanton, Freddie Freeman, 30 mil plus a year in their primes. So does it really matter that bad? Is it that bad if that's the money you're paying to? And then we got to factor in an Aaron Judge extension here, but we'll get to that in a minute. Second baseman remains Gleyber Torres. Once again, we could shift the plan. If you want to get rid of Torres, save some salary, put DJ LeMahieu at second base, that's also possible. I think very unlikely, though. In this case, DJ LeMahieu is the utility infielder. He's roving everywhere because at this point, I think that's the only option for him based on what we've seen. Third baseman, Matt Chapman. The Yankees going a little bit of a different direction here. I don't think the deal with the A's is fully dead in some respects because, A, they need another player, and that player is going to most likely be a pitcher. And if they're looking at revamping things, acquiring Chapman, only do $9.5 million next year, and a pitcher, they vary between Chris Bassett, Frankie Montas, Sean Manaea. Those guys are all making between $5 and $11 million. So you're looking at, between a $15 and $20 million acquisition here after cutting the amount of salary that you did. So Freeman and that $50 million combined. And then my shortstop is Trevor Story on a 1-year, $30 million deal. So you're talking about adding all this payroll, slashing probably at least 30 mil based on who they can get rid of. So you're essentially adding 50 million here. 50 million on I think it was based on like a $172 million payroll. After Yankees are at 201.8 right now, which might as well be 202. If they could figure out a way to cut more salary, they can get into the 170 range. 50 mil brings them to 250 range. I think that's fair for 1 year. And then you look at it this way, Chapman's getting a decent raise for 1 more year after this. Story in this scenario would be gone. And then you have all those other guys coming off the books. Another thing that I kind of floated, that we actually floated earlier in the offseason, but didn't really gain much traction. I don't think it's going to happen. But maybe you find a team to take on Zack Britton's salary for the 2022 season, attach a top prospect to that deal, saves you $14 million. Again, Yankees have a deep farm system. I'm not saying just get rid of players for no reason, but if you can upgrade your infield to this, once again, that's Freddie Freeman, Gleyber Torres, Trevor Story, Matt Chapman, DJ LeMahieu roving around, that exponentially increases your chances of making a run in 2022. It does not at all compromise your major league roster, and it would be less of a hit to the farm system if you were trading prospects to the A's because Matt Olson is going to cost more than Matt Chapman. Matt Olson's coming off what he hit 38 homers last year or something insane. Chapman's coming off a down year, so you have the at least leverager to be like, well, this guy didn't perform well. But Gold Glove third baseman. We've heard the rumors of or the at least speculation of Gio Urshela being a utility infielder. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think if you're going to do anything, either keep these guys in a defined role or just get rid of them. I think Urshela and Voit are in this no man's land, and they combined for almost $12 million in salary. So yeah, if you have to sell low, you got to do it. But getting rid of that money against the payroll is going to be key. And being able to keep this much money, and then also have the payroll be down in a sense come 2023 and be able to make depth additions based on what you've done this offseason. If you could pull this off, I think it makes a whole lot of sense. Is it crazy? Yeah. Is it going to happen? No, it's not. It's simply not. But if they were to shock us, if the Yankees were to make us feel good, this is a plan I think that's within reach. It costs a little bit of extra money that they would like to spend. It's $30 million more than they would like to spend, but you can reset the tax the year after with some shrewd depth, low-cost spendings to round out the roster. So that's where I'm kind of at if I want to have fun this offseason. Again, end the lockout, and this will stop. Just do it, Rob.
I'm going to bang the short-term story drum as often as I can. I'm just not done with that until you show me that the Astros are going to go 5 years, and you show me that the Mariners are ready to go 5 or 6, because I don't understand why someone like Trevor Story would not want to play in a ballpark like Yankee Stadium for 2 seasons, rebuild his value alongside DJ LeMahieu, his close friend from his time in Colorado. It's the hybrid solution. It's a stopgap with one of the superstar shortstops at the top of the market. It's not 10 years of Carlos Correa, which sounds like, it's not hard to see why the Yankees view that as a crazy expenditure. Yeah. Saying the numbers out loud is wild to me. They need to extend Aaron Judge. They need to do a lot of things. And can they afford 10 years of Carlos Correa in addition to all of these things? Yes, of course they could in theory. But there's shortstops in the system they believe in. They do not want to play the get talent now, move it around later, move him to third next year. They're paying for a shortstop. So why not pay through the nose, in quotation marks, for 2 years of Trevor Story instead of 10 years of Carlos Correa, or more realistically, instead of nothing, instead of 1 year of Andrelton Simmons, instead of surrendering assets for Nick Ahmed and D. Gregorius. So of all the elements of the dream infield, I would say obviously Freeman is the most realistic, because in order to get Chapman, they're going to have to, somehow fail at an Olsen trade, but also agree on a lesser trade and surrender a couple of top 10 prospects to Oakland for someone who was not their primary target. And so a lot has to go in strange directions for that Yankees-Oakland relationship to not be strained by the Olsen talks, to still have embers burning enough to get Chapman to the finish line, even after the two sides haven't agreed on the big money deal that most people agree is an easier match. But Story, obviously, you have to, convince the Mariners to get out of there and convince the Astros to stop bidding and hope that Correa goes back to Houston on a 4-year deal, which is that really something I want to hope for? No, I don't want Correa back on the Astros. I don't want my rival remaining just as strong. That's a classic, you'll catch Yankee fans rooting for other teams' budgets to get blown up, ignoring the fact that the team is your rival and they got better and they stay good. A lot of people were doing that when JD Martinez decided not to opt out. It was all right, be careful what you wish for. The Red Sox have JD Martinez still for more years. I don't really care about their payroll flexibility as much, because again, that's another franchise that shouldn't care. I care more about them having good players. There was the potential for them to get boned by JD Martinez saying, I want more money, and the Red Sox would be without a 40-homer bat in the middle of the lineup. Instead, he came back, and they have him. He kicked our ass. He kicked Ray's ass in the playoffs. Yeah, so you don't want to root for your rivals to have financial flexibility, nor do you want to root for your, the Astros are going to get boned by year 6 of the Correa deal. Who could possibly care less? Smart teams always find a way out of these things. Smart teams, the Red Sox trade everybody they've ever committed to long-term. They had Carl Crawford on the books till 2085, and they traded him to the Dodgers. Adrian Gonzalez, too, just retired this week. Crazy that was just this week, but you can always find a way out of these financial commitments. The Yankees sent Jacoby Ellsbury into a cornfield. He disappeared from the roster. He literally disappeared from the roster. When you're worrying about long-term commitments, there's a level of concern that's valid, and there's a level of concern that's completely illegitimate. So the dream infield, if you're making an all-star team, you're putting Correa in there. But if you're making a
Yeah.
somewhat realistic hybrid middle infield, I think Gleyber Torres stays. I think this is the final year where I can confidently say Gleyber Torres stays, but
Yeah.
I think there's no reason to jettison him this offseason when you have Voit and when you have Urshela with escalating salaries. Torres is still much younger than those guys and has a much higher ceiling than those guys. So I would endorse keeping LeMahieu will find a way to play. He will play.
He's going to play. He'll play 130 games. They'll figure it out.
He will absolutely play if he's knocked off, and there's a chance they don't make the Chapman trade, and he's just the starting third baseman, and it is what it is.
Whatever.
But I think even if they squeeze him out of the infield, he's going to find playing time. And Story is I think you need to exhaust the Story on a 2-year deal option before you just go back to the well and start signing 1-year dudes. I love Volpe. I love Peraza. I love Roderick Arias. I love Oswaldo Cabrera. We talked about this ad nauseum. I think Story is the last card that you play before just settling on, okay, fine. We're going to trade our 30th ranked prospect for Didi Gregorius. We're going to pay him $12 million next year and make the Phillies eat $2 million. And then we'll just hand the job right to a rookie with no experience, theoretically at the edge of a contention window with Aaron Judge. You mentioned the Zack Britton trade in there. Let's transition there just because this is one of the underrated things that has screwed the Yankees team building strategy in recent months. Zack Britton entering the final year of his deal was either, going to be somebody who was coming off a big year in 2021, able to help the Bombers of the bullpen. That would have been great. Or somebody who was very easily tradable, veteran reliever on a 1-year deal. $14 million is a lot of money, but the Yankees could theoretically pick some of that up, attach a top 20 prospect. People are going to want Zack Britton. You could do a weird little bullpen shuffle there. The Tommy John surgery that Zack Britton had way too late last year. He had bone spurs rubbing up against his elbow. We heard it wasn't, UCL damage, and then all of a sudden it was, and he's out for the year. He's out for the year way too late. It's going to take a lot for Zack Britton to get back to the mound in 2022. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think there's even a percentage chance it happens. I think it's way more likely to count him out for next season than it is to figure out a mental math way to get him on the field. So that basically takes him off the plate as a trade option, where he was a huge chip for the Yankees, a way for them to save salary, a way for them to clear bullpen roles for other younger players, and now he's basically just stuck there rehabbing all year long. They're not going to cut him because they're giving him veterans rights. He's just going to eat up money on the budget basically all season long, but he has to be replaced. So we've obviously talked about internal replacements. There's nobody, Ron Marinaccio, Steven Ridings. There's young kids who could use a roster spot, but none of them are like a veteran lefty. None of them are an 8th inning setup guy from opening day. We just don't know. So we did discuss a few outside replacements if the Yankees want to give short-term deals to Zack Britton, backup options. How do you feel about the 3 that you have listed? Are any of them on your, favorites list, or are they also, was this just sort of a chore to say, hey, if you want to pay somebody, you could pay somebody?
Yeah, it was more so, I think last year it was evident that Britton's absence created a strain on a lot of other things. And that his absence alone did not create that strain. The starting rotation didn't pitch deep enough into games. Other relievers regressed and created a problem. But you're talking about a pitcher of Zack Britton's caliber. I don't think we need to speak on his resume. He's been an all-world reliever since 2014. Outside of whatever he did this past year, which was accentuated by elbow troubles. But you're looking at finding somebody who can eat 40 to 70 innings a year. I know that's a very broad, that's a broad workload. But you're looking at in the manner in which that he did it or as effective as he did. I think you need outside help here because I'm excited about the young bullpen arms too. It's encouraging that there are signs of life coming up through the system, especially a guy like Steven Ridings, who we saw last year touching triple digits. Like, that's cool. Rod Marinaccio being nasty in what was he in Double-A last year? Did he ever touch Triple-A?
I think he touched Triple-A, but most of the year was in Double-A.
Mostly dominated Double-A, and his stuff was filthy. And then we have, Michael King, who's come along as a very good multi-inning reliever. Cool stuff. I like it a lot. However, I don't know if I'm going to rely on that. I don't know if I'm going to rely on continued very good production from guys like Wandy Peralta, Lucas Litke, Joely Rodriguez. Don't get mad at me, but Clay Holmes, I think we saw a lot of best case scenarios from those guys last year. And I'm not saying we're in for this, but it's possible. We just saw regressions beyond explanation across the entire roster last year from an offensive standpoint, from the position players mostly. Pitching staff overachieved. But for you to think that it's not possible for there to be regressions in the bullpen with, less of a pedigree in there with Aroldis Chapman already on the decline, I don't really know what to tell you. So I think going out and getting somebody else that has veteran experience, that has a track record behind them, would do the Yankees good. I have Richard Rodriguez on here. I got Joe Kelly on here, who I know we don't like, but good option. And I got Andrew Chafin on here. Are all of these guys the solution? No, but they have longevity in the league. And if you're a big recency bias guy,
I am. I'm a huge recency bias guy.
A lot of them have performed well. So do I like anyone? I like Joe Kelly because of the experience that he brings. And I like heat coming out of the bullpen. We have a lot of guys who don't throw that hard now with Chapman's declining fastball. We still have to incorporate Steven Ridings into things. Chad Green's fastball kind of just lost its luster. He's a 2-pitch guy, so it doesn't have the same effectiveness that it used to, I guess. I think that having the veteran presence who can eat innings, who can pitch in all different types of scenarios, these guys have experience all over the place. You can use them as firemen, which the Yankees do like to do. They like to have one bullpen role defined. For some reason, it's to roll the Chapman as the closer instead of using him anywhere else. But everybody else is kind of an amoeba. They can go 6th, 7th, 8th, can go 9th on a random day if you want, can do the 10th with the free runner on second, even though that's not happening anymore. But Rodriguez, we saw him last year, finished with a 2.94 ERA, sub-1 whip, got 14 saves in 64 games between Pittsburgh and Atlanta. Joe Kelly, I know he's coming off this biceps injury, and he might be a little bit pricey, but sub-1 whip last year, top percentile in the league in fastball velocity and curveball spin. Again, ton of experience, pitched in Dodgers playoff runs, Red Sox playoff runs. I think it's good. And Andrew Chafin, career year for him. He has been eating innings like an animal for 5 or 6 years now. He finished in the upper percentile in a lot of peripheral stats, hard hit percentage, expected ERA, expected batting average, expected slugging percentage, list goes on and on. I like the fact that he has improved as his career has gone on. I know he might be buyer's remorse here because he's going into his age 32 season, coming off a career year. Someone's going to overpay for him. But when you're looking at a guy like this who has a good track record and has appeared in 66 or more games 5 times out of the last 7 seasons, with one of those seasons being the short in 2020, I'll take that any day of the week, because at this point, what the Yankees have proven to me is they could fit guys into roles and they can maximize their efficiency, at least out of the bullpen. Matt Blake has done a great job of that, especially last year. So I think if that trend can continue, I think these guys are smart to target, even if you have to pay a little bit of money, because you're going to get the security that you need. You're going to get that somewhat of that lost production that you're seeking. And it's going to be almost going to be certain you're getting it, as opposed to these other guys who we don't really know what entirely to expect, but we're excited about what they might bring to the table.
I'm a big Joe Kelly fan. I feel like success follows him wherever he goes. And obviously he's going to be injured for the start of 2022.
They said he won't be.
He says he won't be. He says he won't be. Maybe there's a slight discount to be had there, though, because you just don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a 2-year deal that really reads like a 1.5-year deal. Maybe you're paying for 2023 more than you're paying for 2022. I don't know. Worth keeping in mind. And Andrew Chafin, I sort of wonder, he feels like he had a ton of momentum towards a 3-year deal when the lockout started. Yeah. He had a great year this year, great in Oakland. But is that a guy who, it lost in the free agent shuffle a little bit? As we actually approach the free agency reopening, which I have no idea when that's going to happen, but whenever it happens, people are going to be reporting to camp 5, 6, 7 days later. There's a lot to get done obviously Max Scherzer and the crew signed a long time ago, and congrats to Corey Seager and congrats to Javier Baez, but there's still some really big names to sort out. And so you wonder if on day 5 of 6, Andrew Chafin's like, hey, you guys forgot to sign Andrew Chafin, and then you can maybe get him on a 2-year deal instead of a 3-year deal. I don't know. Then again, there have been minor league deals signed all throughout this process. Every couple of days, a name that announces a minor league signing. Tim Beckham went to the Twins on Friday, I believe. So the fact that these agency types and player reps and teams are very clearly talking, there's absolutely no way that they're not discussing current major league free agents too when they have these conversations and keep in touch with each other. I think you're going to see a lot of, when the free agency frenzy opens up again, could be a month, could be a month and a half. I just don't know. I think you're going to see a lot of very NBA style things where day 1, hour 2, there's a big 4-year deal agreed to. And you're like, okay, yeah, glad that all came together in the last 25 minutes. No need to look into that any further. No collusion evident here. Just a deal that happened real quick. Owners who notoriously hate to spend money just agreeing to spend $120 million in a matter of seconds. Very legitimate stuff. Like Seiya Suzuki to the Red Sox, which was, again, agreed upon like 2 months ago in secret. I think a bunch of that kind of stuff is going to be happening. So I don't know if Chafin's going to get lost in the shuffle or if Chafin already has a deal. It's just something to consider. It feels like his momentum got a little bit blunted by this free agency shuffle. Whereas at the end of the season, I would have said, yeah, 3 years, like 35 mil. Like the Yankees are going to have to pony up like 10 mil a year to get their hands on Andrew Chafin. And now I kind of feel like it's like, all right, 2 years 16, 2 years 18.
Sure.
Like, I don't know. Just saying. So before we sign off, let's roast a foolish person. Let's roast I assume this is a man. I don't actually know, but I assume the buyer is a man here.
That's sexist.
Is that sexist? It's reverse sexist. It's saying a woman is too smart to use $474,000 of her dollars on a Jasson Dominguez rookie card. Now, this Jasson Dominguez card was graded, sold this weekend. It was graded. It's a super fractor. It's a 1-of-1 autograph rookie card. If I could choose one thing to have in my collection, it might be that. It's not going to be that, but that's maybe top 15, top 20. It's a beautiful card. If you believe in Jasson Dominguez, if you believe in the market, then by all means make the purchase. Maybe don't make the purchase at $474,000 for a guy who most prospect experts have agreed regressed in 2021. He's closer to the back of the top 100 than he was last year. He was like top 20. I don't know if Jasson Dominguez is going to be a superstar. I don't know if he's going to be the next Mike Trout, Mickey Mantle, Bo Jackson. All that sounded a little ridiculous when we said it 2 years ago. It sounds equally ridiculous now. I don't think that's something you need to spend the down payment of a house on. That's just me. I don't think you need to take out a reverse mortgage from Rocket Mortgage to get yourself to the finish line of buying a Jasson Dominguez rookie card. The NBA card market, NFL card market has been absolutely absurd the last couple of years. Boxes of cards that used to cost me like $100 when I was a kid will now cost you $750 for the chance to pull a rookie card of like those top 3 guys in those drafts. Baseball has lagged behind. Dominguez is helping baseball catch back up. Now the international names on the baseball card market, you can't afford them. You cannot buy them. You, a normal human, can't purchase them. This one-of-one card, I can't even think of what I might have assumed people might have spent for this like 5-10 years ago. I would just going to hazard a guess. It feels like a $5,000, $7,000 purchase, $10,000, pretty extravagant amounts of money. $474,000 is a boatload in that it's the amount of money that could literally buy you a boat. And a Honus Wagner card was sold this weekend too. The famous Honus Wagner card that keeps ending up in museums. That one was ripped in half. So I guess that is important to note. It's a really rare card. So they don't crop up that often. So even one that's ripped in half people are going to want it. That went for $475K. And that's like a historical artifact. That's like buying the Declaration of Independence. Jasson Dominguez is just a 19-year-old going into his second professional season. I think we can maybe hold off on making the $500,000 purchases of the Jasson Dominguez cards, unless you disagree, unless you want to come out on the side of go ahead and spend your $500K.
I mean, if you have to struggle to make this work, it's the dumbest thing you could possibly do. I don't know how these prices materialize. I don't know who determines them. I don't know. It reminds me of crypto, like the crypto market. It's like, oh, one day, hey, Bitcoin 60K. Next day, how about 20? Does that sound good? No, it doesn't. I don't understand this. I don't understand the card market. I don't understand. Like you said, looked at NBA and NFL cards, unaffordable, just unaffordable for regular people. They're cards with their pieces of paper with people's faces on them. I'm not doubting what Jasson Dominguez can do. And hey, even funnier to think that he's actually been devalued because he hit 258 in 25 professional games. And that was
346 OBP. So gets on base, hit raw power. It's crazy. $474,000 crazy. I don't know.
And maybe that was a discount based on this season's past performance, which is crazy to even imagine. I don't even know. I don't know what people are thinking. I don't know what you're doing. What are you doing with this? Is this going in like a little glass square in your dining room? What's the pride in this? Is this an investment to hope that he's a Hall of Famer one day and your grandkids get to sell the investment for $10 million? I don't know. If I was a billionaire, I guess maybe I'd make this purchase for fun. But seeing this is discouraging just because A, it's a baseball card. B, there is no telling what this career is going to pan out to be. And C, just what we spend money on as a society. I know people have some money and you can do whatever you want with your money. Free country, dude. We love it.
Yeah, I'm not saying you can. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just
we're not saying you can. It's just like, all right, well, why are we doing that? Why is that where we're investing the money? I don't know.
Maybe I need to recalibrate my brain. Like, I just don't think that way. If I'm if I feel like I would tell billionaires to spend $40,000 on this. And like, if you're a billionaire and you got loose money, like drop $40K on this Jasson Dominguez card. Show it to your kids. Maybe he becomes Babe Ruth. Maybe you can double that. But is it really going that much higher than 474? There's no grand story attached to this card. It's not like it fell off a boat in the harbor and got dug out, or like Jasson Dominguez said, please stop putting my picture on baseball cards. And they took it off the market, which is what Honus Wagner did. There's no grand history. I don't want to look 100 years into the future. I also don't want to live long enough to see Jasson Dominguez be the Babe Ruth of electables. And this rookie card's going for $100 million, and like you're framing it, you're putting it in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I think it feels a curiosity rather than a historical artifact. And I just can't think of spending that much money on anything, but this is pretty close to the bottom of my list of items. And I love baseball and Jasson Dominguez and the Yankees. So I really am the target demo here, and I have no interest. So if you're the person who bought this card, I hope you're streaming live on YouTube with us right now, sir. Again, it's a guy. if you're here, drop by, let us know. We'd love to get in touch. Just give us a window into your brain, like a Being John Malkovich style. Just let us in your cranium and tell us, why on earth that you want. I wonder if it was like buyer's remorse. If he like saw it and was just like, oh, I'm typing $500,000. There's no way I'm going to win.
An accidental zero added to it. This just. It feels on the spectrum of like good investments and bad investments. This is closer to like Kurt Schilling video game investment than anything. Just because the risk that you're taking here is unnecessary. You're taking a wildly unnecessary risk to hope that this guy's career is what everyone said it was going to be last year. Ridiculous comparisons to Mike Trout, unfounded. He was 17 years old. He was hitting balls in an abandoned baseball field in Dominican Republic, I believe that's where he's from. So it was just like, we haven't seen any organized play here. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? And now someone has the faith. So God bless.
And now that we've seen organized play and it wasn't that great, the price went up. Like, that's what I just don't understand. Yeah. So, I mean, in that case, if he plays the same level of not that well next year, maybe it'll double in price because it already, the price went up after he played 40 whatever games. But again, sir, please reach out. I'm not an investment expert. I don't do taxes. I wouldn't have done this, to be perfectly honest with you. I hope you just accidentally fat fingers an extra zero onto your bid and that got absolutely boned. And we're only trying to bid a reasonable $47,400 on this Jasson Dominguez rookie card. That is it for this edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. Make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Drop us a 5-star review along with a mailbag question. We'll be more than happy to answer it. And again, ignore the 4s. Do not do a 3. 2 is embarrassing. Why are you even here? We have one guy who updates a 1-star review every couple of months. That guy's amazing. If you want to do that, you can drop us a 1-star, actually. But unless you want to do something fun and play a game, give us a 5-star, give us your thoughts. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have. And come find us live on YouTube and Twitter, Mondays and Thursdays, all off season long, 2:00 Eastern time. And we're going to be expanding that when the regular season comes, whenever that is. We're going to be bringing on guests. We're going to be bringing on friends of the show. So stay tuned, stay subscribed to the channel, watch the live feed, watch the shorties, listen to the podcast, everything you can possibly do with the content. We'd love if you would do that. Until next time, I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carinante, where can the people find you?
I'm at Tommy's_takes. Both of us are also on the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at YanksGoYardFS. YanksGoYard.com has all the written content for you. Plenty of stuff there. Wanted to clarify one thing. Salary reduction, dream infield, what we were talking about before, just before the freaks start freaking out because they're just weird people. Voit, Urshela, Andujar, Herman. If you trade all four of them or figure out a way to get rid of them, that's nearly $16 million in salary. So if you can get rid of Britton in that prospect attached deal that we talked about, you're looking at 29. Or if the Yankees go crazy, trade Gary Sanchez and Gleyber Torres, that's the same as Britton's salary. So you're still looking at 29. Those are the most realistic ways to clear the amount that they have to. I think Britton, a prospect attaching with those other four guys, is the most reasonable. Don't know why you would disagree. I mean, it makes the team better. And unless the Yankees don't want to sell super low, that would be the only reason for them not wanting to do it. But I'd clear all those players for Freddie Freeman. That's essentially my thesis. Clear 4 or 5 players and get the one player that will make you that much better. So that's where the specifics of the finances come in. I know I was saying a lot of numbers before, but that is the definitive one to get the Yankees down to $172 million before they splurge again. If they do it, they won't. They will not do it, but they can. If they want to do it, they can. They will not.
They will not. They won't. They won't.
Yeah, the fact checking end of the pod for everybody there. We'll see you on Thursday, 2 p.m., same place, same time. We're going to have a great time, as we usually do. Don't really know what we're going to talk about, so we're going to formulate some talking points until then. Hopefully we get another Freddie Freeman-esque update, maybe not another one on Freeman, because I don't know what more can be said at this point, since that would be illegal. So maybe something else, maybe a Trevor Story short AAV deal, get the dream infield in motion, and we'll be talking hopefully about that Thursday, 2 p.m. Folks, enjoy the rest of your next few days.
Yep, just keep refreshing the YouTube channel till then, and we'll be back Thursday at 2 p.m. Goodbye, everybody.